Hello, my name is Benjamin Timothy. For my project, the BTG Interviews, today I'm interviewing Colin Spaull.
Hi.
Question 1. Where were you born and where did you grow up as a child?
Right, I grew up actually in South Lambeth, in London, near Vauxhall. Although I was born in Surrey, in a place called Woking. It was 1944, it was sort of the war with the Second World War was coming to an end. And my mother was evacuated to this nursing home in Woking to have me. And so I don't know how long they stayed in hospital those days, probably about a week after the birth. And then I was brought back to the council flat that I lived in South London.
Question 2.
Yep.
What age did you start acting?
I started, I think I was about 11 years old. I started off, but one of my teachers at the school that I was at, I don't know how it actually happened, to be quite honest with you, but obviously he said something to my parents that Colin's got, I don't know, flair for reading poetry or speaking verse, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but he suggested that I went to the Italia Conti Stage School, which was, as you probably know, is the most famous stage school, and it was at the time. We know Coward was a student there. Oh my God, it just goes on for endless big names, tellies and things. Now there are quite a few different sort of drama schools and stage schools. Anyway, I went along there usually for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning, where I did some play reading and some drama lessons, and I'd been there about a year. And the school also acted as an agency for the kids that were there studying. And I got a couple of kids playing in the street, background in films and a few tellies years ago. So they said, we think we could do more for Colin's career as an actor if he came as a full-time student. Now, you had to pay. So my parents were not wealthy, we were just ordinary, hard-working Londoners. But eventually, I managed to find the money, and I went along as a full-time student, which then meant that I left my normal full-time education. Mm-hmm. And I went to a drama school, so it was in the mornings, it was education, reading, writing, arithmetic, and in the afternoon, it was all theatre, voice production, singing, dancing, everything, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I was lucky enough to start getting major roles. I think quite a few major roles I've tried before. But I started. There was a book which was very famous in the late 50s, early 50s maybe, and it was called Jennings at School. I don't know. A lot of people that maybe see this might recall Jennings. It was a very famous boys' book, and it was made into a television series. And I played Venables, and the guy that was playing Jennings was another young actor. I was about 12 or 13, I think, by then. Was another young actor at another drama school. He became great mates. His name was John Mitchell, and John Mitchell and I became very, very close mates. Our families became friends. We used to go on holiday together. He gave up acting, but he was a very, very good drummer. And I used to play around on his drums. He lived in Greenford, and he eventually gave up acting, and he changed his name, not changed his name, but he was known as Mitch Mitchell. He was the drummer for Jimi Hendrix. He was Hendrix's drummer. A bit of a claim to fame there. But then I started doing lots of the Sunday afternoon classics for the BBC. I think probably one of the biggest things was that I was cast as Pip in Great Expectations, and 13-part series, but I only did about 4 episodes because I played Pip as a boy. But that was the start of it, and they went on to do many, many, many other things.
My parents, Philip Pirrip, late of this parish, and also Georgiana, wife of the above, were dead and buried. And that Alexander, Bartholomew, Abraham, Tobias, and Roger, infant children of the aforesaid, were also dead and buried. And that the shape of the letters on their grave gave me an odd idea that my father was a square, stout, dark man with curly black hair, and that my mother was freckled and sickly, and that the dark, flat wilderness beyond the churchyard was the marshes, and that the small bundle of shivers, growing afraid of it all and beginning to cry, was Pip.
Stop snivelling! Hold your noise! Keep still, you brat, or I'll cut your throat!
Oh, don't cut my throat, sir! Please don't!
Then hold still. One squeak out of you.
You were in an episode of, was it Inspector Morse or Lewis?
Yes, no, it was Morse, and it was the very last one. The remorseful day when he dies. It's the very last episode ever, and unfortunately he passed away. I think probably a year or so after that.
What was it like working with?
They're lovely people. Yeah.
John Thor.
John Thor,
yeah.
yeah, and Lewis was played by
Kevin Watley.
Yes, yeah. Great fun. It was lovely to do. It was a very nice part. It was a little small part. I played a character called Chaz, who was the governor of the pub that they were using at the time. And yeah, had a few scenes with more scenes with Lewis than I did with Morse. No, great time, lovely, great fun.
When you're ready, Chaz.
Busy?
Ish. I'm just finishing off a little job for Debbie Rep.
Oh, she likes a man who's handy with his filler, I've heard.
Your mind.
Your reputation.
Yeah. I'm doing a bit of roofing in the morning. Burford. Nice widow.
Go on.
Small.
Petite.
Oh, yeah. Blue eyes.
How old?
75, 76?
Yeah.
Perfect for you.
Did you have any other jobs before acting? And if you could do any other jobs, what would it be?
No, I didn't have any jobs since, as I say, I was 11 years old when I started acting. But then I had a few, when I was, I don't know, 20s, mid-20s, a few times, you know, it's a business that, it's not a regular job, you know, you don't, not every week that you're working 9 to 5. Yeah, a couple of times I did a bit, I did some silly things like, I spent some time on a building site. I was a labourer. I think I did that for about 6 weeks, and then the phone rang. It was my agent, and they said, "Oh, can you come along and this?" And I got that part, so then I left that. Yeah, a couple of times I've done some odds and sods, really. But basically, I've been now coming up to 63 years, 64 years as an actor. So it's a long time. But yeah, I've done the odd job here and there, but I've always been working as an actor, which is brilliant. I mean, I do voiceovers, and I've done everything. I've done telefilms, theatre, radio, the whole genre of the entertainment business.
What is your favourite TV show and film that you have worked on?
There are quite a few, really, but I think the main one which gave me an awful lot of pleasure, and it was a huge launching pad for my career, was Great Expectations. And it got a huge amount of publicity at the time. And my dear old mum was on her way to work one day, and she stopped at the newsagents, and there on the cover of that week's Radio Times was me. So I think she bought up every copy for miles around. But and I actually have a framed copy of it actually in my house. But yeah, because that was a kickstart to a lot of things. I went on to play. I was the youngest member of the Old Vic Company in 1957, playing all the boy parts in Shakespeare, Titus Andronicus and Richard III and Henry V or Henry IV parts. I can never remember that one. So that was brilliant. And then I did a play, a very well-known play at the time. It's still performed now and again. It's a thing called The Winslow Boy that was made into a film as well. And I played Ronnie Winslow, and I played the lead in that, which was great fun. And then I did quite a few theatre productions, West End stuff. Yeah, so that probably was the biggest kick to my career, biggest push forward, was the Great Expectations, the BBC.
What is the hardest or most challenging TV show or film that you have worked on?
They've all got their challenges. I've done a couple of plays and a touring of plays, and they're challenging in as much as when you're working in the theatre. To my way of thinking, the theatre is is where the actor's craft really comes into play, because nowadays, you know, we do a telly, we do a film, you go on and you muck it up, and they say, oh, so sorry, can we go again? Yeah, you can go again. You can't walk on the stage and start halfway through and say, oh, I forgot my lines, can we start again? No, you bloody can't start again.
Unless you can get away with it.
Unless you can add lyric
notice.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this particular play was called The Happiest Days of Your Life, if I recall rightly. I had a massive part. I played the sports teacher. And it was, I think it was probably about a 2-hour play. And I think that every other page was of dialogue was mine, and it was a massive, massive part to learn. But in those days, I found it so easy to learn. But as I get older, I must admit, it's taking a little longer for the old lines to go in and get remembered, you know. But yeah, that was that was brilliant. I mean, I loved it. I did it with a chap called Charlie Drake, and another actor which some people may remember that see this.
What's been one of your favourite roles that you have played?
Oh yeah, I did a BBC serial many years ago, and it was called The Collectors, and it was about the customs and excise officers of a port, and I had to be a lorry driver, and what I did was I went along and I took a week's intensive HGV course, and I eventually passed with a full licence to drive a lorry. And this part turned up, and it was great. And I was accused. I was smuggling Krugerrands in from the continent in my lorry and all that. It was a great part, great part. But what was so nice about it, the BBC were quite pleased in the fact that they didn't have to give me a stunt double. They could actually have the camera in the cab with me. Because I was actually driving, and I had them.
Yeah.
And so that was good. So that was quite enjoyable and quite. It was good to do, to have that extra bow to your string to your bow, you know, and, which I think a lot of actors really do need to be able to drive and maybe to ride a horse. I've got a full motorbike licence as well, which I used to. I don't ride my bike anymore, but because my wife thinks I'm an ageing rocker, so she banned me. Yeah, so I bought a Jaguar instead. I sold the motorbike, bought a Jaguar.
Are there any roles or any types of roles you would like to play in the future, and why those ones?
I don't really know. An actor's an actor, and the word actor means that you attempt many roles and there's many facets of acting, aren't there, I suppose. I rather like the dramatic, but then again I like the comedy. I quite like playing the roles that I did in Doctor Who, because especially Mr. Crane, who was rather an evil person to begin with, and getting all these poor homeless people and ushering them into a large pantechnical on the grounds that I'm going to feed them, but then turning them into Cybermen. But I came good in the end. I killed Lumik.
Gentlemen, I beg your attention. Christmas has come early, so come and get it. Oh, smell that, comrades. Burgers and chips, sausage and beans, pork, chicken, and hot sweet tea. All for free.
Don't go! There's food.
All you can eat free of charge. Don't just stand there. Fill your faces with pasties.
You're lying. Oh, it's easy for you to say. When did you last starve? All those people disappearing off the streets. It's been going on for months. It's them. They're taking you away.
What for? Experiments.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
So come and get it while it's hot. That's it, kind sir. Get in there and fill your face. Feast yourself, brother. Feast yourself. Take them away.
I don't know, dramatic roles, yeah. Comedy roles, I love playing comedy, I love doing comedy. Yeah, so nothing specific, you know. At one point I always wanted to be a Shakespearean actor. As I said earlier on in the interview, I was the youngest member of the Old Vic Club in 1957, and It seems like a lifetime ago, 1957.
6 years before Doctor Who started.
I know. I actually funny enough, before that, I made a film doing a film called Heavens Above that we were shooting at Shepperton with Peter Sellers and Irene Handel and Eric Sykes and all the and of course the very first Doctor Who was in it before he was Doctor Who, William Hartnell. So I worked with William Hartnell. I worked with 5 Doctors, William Hartnell. Then I went into Doctor Who with Colin Baker. Then I did a big finish with Paul McGann. Then I did a television series with Peter Davison called The Last Detective. And then, of course, with finishing off with David Tennant as the Doctor. So 5 Doctors I worked with.
Would you like to maybe, obviously, because your character was from a parallel universe,
yeah.
So in some ways you can still have your character on the Earth the Doctor's on at the moment. So
yeah.
If Chris Chibnall, the new show writer, was to write a story, maybe a Cyberman adventure, would you return to your character and work alongside Jodie Whittaker?
Oh, if offered, I would jump at the chance. Possible, a big possibility, but I've heard nothing about it, nothing on the grapevine or anything, but oh no, absolutely, absolutely, because when I started doing these convention things, I was quite a welcome guest simply because I span the classic and the new, but now to span the classic, the new, and the new female Doctor Who, if the chance happened, I would definitely go for it, definitely.
When you worked on Doctor Who with the Cybermen episodes, did you have anything to do with John Davey, because he's very popular on the monsters department, and
he killed me
last year. Oh, did he?
He killed me.
He was the Cyberman that killed you?
John that picked me up and threw me across the studio.
Wow, that's some very
and I was with John a couple of weeks back. It was John. Yes, that was the end of my appearances. All down to John Davey. Thanks, John. It's good job, mate. Yeah. It was I had this harness that I had to be strapped into, and they bought all these lovely new clothes for me. The holes were made in it so that the wire could go at the back of me. And of course, at the right time, John grabbed me, and then there were 2 burly blokes on a big one, yanked me, and I just shot back across the studio.
Wow.
This one is unprogrammed.
Mr. Crane, I thought you were one of the faithful.
Oh, that I am, sir. My earpod must have malfunctioned, for which I apologise.
If I
might. I'd like to request an upgrade, sir. I've seen the future, and it's copyright Cybers Industries. Sign me up.
A willing volunteer?
You've known me a long time, sir. Quite a team, you and me. I've been with you all the way. But believe me, sir, knowing you so well, I know exactly what to do.
Help me!
Die, you!
Help me!
You are in pain. We could remove pain for you.
No, not yet. I'm not ready.
We will give you immortality.
I told you, I will upgrade. Only with my last breath.
And breathe no more.
No! I command you, no!
What is the most challenging thing about being an actor and working in the acting industry?
The most challenging thing, I suppose, is being able to work all the time. There are more and more people. I'm a member of Equity, which is the British Actors Equity, which is the Actors Union. Now, many, many years ago, when I joined it, it was a sort of a closed shop. You had to have so many weeks repertory theatre experience behind you before you could get a full membership. But now anyone can join, which is, in a way, is fair enough. You can't stop people being an actor or an actress, and something I always like. I call actresses actresses. I don't. Suddenly everyone's calling them. We're all actors, whether we're male or female. I hate that. But I'm an actor, and they're actresses. So,
which actors and actresses have you enjoyed working with, and which ones would you like to work with in the future?
I've had some work with some really, really lovely people. I was fortunate enough to. The cameraman said, "No, he's all right now."
Sorry, I thought we lost our cameraman.
Yeah. No, it's still running anyway. It's all... Anyway, yeah, I mentioned this to people, especially the younger people, and I sort of mention the actor that I'm going to mention, and they look at me blankly and say, "Who?" Anyway, but I was very fortunate. I spent about 3 months up a mountain in Austria making a film with an actor called David Niven. In those days, probably the most famous British actor in Hollywood at that particular time. Great, lovely, lovely man. We had a lovely time. 3 months was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So that was great. And Peter Sellers, a very lovely lady called Irene Handler. Once again, a lot of the younger generation would not know who Irene Handler is. I'm sure that you can probably remember Irene Handler. But
all names recognised so far, Chief.
She was absolutely lovely. Oh, I've worked with Benny Hill and Eric Sykes. I did the Eric Sykes and Hattie, some of the Eric Sykes and Hattie series. There's so many, and they're all lovely. And Donald Sinden, I was in the West End with Donald Sinden for about a year. Another actor that a lot of the young generation probably won't remember, but yeah, they're too many and too numerous to. I love them all. They're all in their own way. Great, always very good and very nice to me. You hear stories about, oh, he's not too good to work with. I didn't like working with him or her. But I've never come across that. I mean, I like everyone, mate.
Yeah. And are there any you would like to work with in the future?
Yes, if possible. But I can't because they pass on. But yeah, quite a few. Who was I was thinking of the other day that I thought, oh, I'd love to. Michael Gambon is one gentleman, but I think a lot of them are getting very old now if they're not dead. But
he was Cardiff Company. I was going there to do a couple of interviews, but sadly I didn't. But yes, I remember seeing him on the list. So I'm pretty sure he was a Cardiff Company.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah. Are we going now? Are we still there? What?
Which directors and writers have you enjoyed working with, and are there any you would like to work with?
Yes, I mean, I was very lucky to go into directors. I made a film with a very famous director once called Alfred Hitchcock, and I would love it. It was a very small part, very small cameo in a movie, but it was interesting. It was great to work with such a well-known director. Several directors that I've worked with before, a lot of television directors. Sean Sutton, who's no longer with us, was a wonderful BBC director. And a couple of film directors. Some of the names, they're no longer with us, but I can't, there's so many, several I've worked with. Graham Harper, for example, who is probably one of the best known of the Doctor Who directors, whom I was with. I was with at drama school with Graham Harper at the Italia Conti School, and he was a very good actor, very fine actor, but he decided that his forte lay behind the cameras, and I've remained for the rest of my days, hopefully, in front of the camera. I mean, throughout I've spent my entire life either in front of a television camera, film camera, or a microphone. So, there we go. Good analogy, that one.
Did you ever get any time off?
Well, we had some great times off, some great games and silly things we used to do. And, they're too numerous to mention, really, but yeah.
As an actor, how do you feel your career has adapted over the years, and which areas of acting do you feel you need to improve in?
What do I need to improve in? I don't know. You never know if you get presented with a play or a part, and it stretches you more than the last one. You think, oh, you've had it easy, to learn a couple of lines, go on, do it, and then go off again. But sometimes you have to really give it some deep thought. I mean, a really deep thought. I did a television series once, and it was called The Murder Game, and it was based on something that was done in America, and the BBC thought they'd do it, and it was about a family, and the family, there was a tragedy that happened in the family. I was the father, and my daughter was killed in the church on the eve of her wedding. What had happened was the BBC had put out, or a notice went out somewhere, I'm not quite, looking for people who would want to be involved in a television series, and they were going to be taught the rudiments of detective work, and then they were taken off to somewhere for a week or 2 weeks to get the basics of detection. Mm-hmm. And then they were brought back to London by coach, and they came through this small village, and there were the police, there were ambulances, and they said, right, here we are, the last 2 weeks you've been working with the police in Yorkshire or wherever it was. There's a crime scene, you have to find out who the killer was. And we, as a family, we didn't know, as actors playing the part of the family, we didn't know what questions were going to be asked of us at any one given time. So we'd had about 3 or 4 weeks doing improv. So the character that I was playing, I knew my birth date, my national insurance number, my grandfather's inside leg measurement, everything, weird stuff. And it was brilliant to do, because you were in a scene where I was digging away on my allotment, and this chap, one of the contestants, was coming along to interview me. No idea what he was going to ask me. But talk about having to, fly by the seat of your pants. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That was a great thing to do.
Sounds like an amazing experience.
It was a real test for an actor, brilliant.
There's a lot of stuff involved in one thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said, like the weeks you spent on doing it and stuff.
Yeah.
When you can do something like that, it's just something that you can always cherish.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
It didn't do very well. It didn't do very well on telly. It only went to the one series, but but wow, one of the best things I think I've ever done. In as much as the pressure and the work that went into it, without totally no script, you had no lines, that you think, you know what they're going to ask you, and because you've been rehearsing all week, you know exactly what the answer is, but you never knew what they were going to ask. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much for the interview today, Colin.
My pleasure.
Would you have any advice for me about my interviewing techniques?
Well, yes, I suppose I would in a way. But I mean, I think maybe being a little more prepared, and just try to not leave that sort of pregnant pause between each question. I know it's easy now; you can put the scissors in and get rid of it. But apart from that, no. I mean, the questions were good. A good array of questions, but it was just that, I think.
Yeah. One thing I am going to be looking into is getting a photo studio background. So I've got something to put behind me in the style, and also getting chairs and stuff and all that sort of stuff, which is going to be very difficult looking around and stuff, but still, we're going to be looking into getting that. And also maybe one thing that we could also look into is getting like a chalkbook, like with like a screen or something.
Yeah.
So obviously when we go along with the questions, maybe I can glance at the camera and my lovely cameraman standing there and have like the questions.
Like an auto cue.
Like they do on TV.
Yeah, an auto cue, yeah.
Cards.
Yeah, like that.
Well, it'd be better than hiring an auto cue. Yeah.
Or we could just practice.
Yeah, or practice. You okay to do a few quick fire questions just before we go?
Yeah, surely. Okay. Right. Do I just answer yes or no?
So I asked you something like cat or dog, and you say which one or something. It's just something funny to add towards all the 6 people I've interviewed.
Okay.
Right. You ready, Ben?
Yep.
And go.
Cat or dog?
Cat.
Tea or coffee?
Beer.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Movie or gym?
Oh, I go to the gym a lot.
Supermarket or online shopping?
Oh, a bit of both for me.
Strange one. Camel or zebra?
Sorry?
So, riding, as in, when you go to Egypt, you ride a camel.
Oh, okay.
So this is, a friend came up with this one. I was a bit like, they said, no, do that one. So, camel or zebra?
Let's have a camel.
Yeah. I did think Zebra was a bit...
Yes.
Yeah, I do apologise about that. Amazon or Alaska?
Oh, I've just been to Alaska.
Have you?
Yeah.
Jetpack or skydiving?
Oh, that's difficult. I'd love to go for jetpack. I'd love to have a go at that.
Like Sean Connery from the...
Yeah.
From Russia with Love?
Or something like that. I remember, yes, with the
yeah.
yeah, brilliant. Love to do that.
Dancing or karaoke?
Oh, no, definitely dancing, yeah.
And the final one, walk or fly?
Oh, I love flying.
Okay. Thank you very much, Colin.
That is my pleasure, mate.